Let's talk about lentils. Great value lentils, to be exact. Well, I've been eating them for years, and I have no idea what kind of lentils they are. Are they brown lentils, or are they green lentils? If you look at the back of the bag, it just says lentils. So I really wanted to know. So I decided to order every lentil available on Azure Standard, with the exception of red and golden lentils, because those cook up into a puree. I wanted a lentil that would hold its shape and work well for a lentil sloppy joe recipe. Let's trial 5 different lentils, starting with brown lentils, Spanish brown, green lentils, black Beluga lentils, French green, and of course the great value unknown lentils. First up is the black Beluga lentil. We're weighing in at 2 pounds for the recipe. They're much smaller in size compared to the standard lentil. Nice shiny black color, very attractive. Now we have the cooked black Beluga lentils. As you can see, the color has lightened quite a bit. They're still dark in color, but definitely not the jet black as the dry bean. It's pretty obvious that the black lentil is definitely not the same as the great value lentil, but I certainly wanted to try them all. That black color is sure to pack an antioxidant punch. Adding in some cooked peppers and onions, and adding in the sloppy joe sauce. Recipe will be at the end of the video. Finished sloppy joes with black lentils. It reminds me of cooked black beans or cooked black refried beans. It definitely has that nice black color even with the finished product. The cooked lentils remained firm and almost had a slippery feel to the tongue. I did like the black lentils and I would definitely buy them again, although due to the higher price, I would not use them as my everyday lentil. Let's review the nutrition label of the black Beluga lentil. In just 100 grams of lentils, we have 26 grams of protein and 1.5 grams of fat, versus 108 grams of steak gives you 27 grams of protein, but a whopping 18 grams of fat. Additionally, the lentils will provide 72% of your fiber, 25% of your potassium, 50% of your folate, and 45% of your iron. The black Beluga has 18% potassium, 15% iron, 43% of your fiber, and 13 grams of protein. Next we have the popular brown lentil. If you do an internet search, it will tell you that the grocery store lentils are likely brown lentils. Looking at this close-up comparison, clearly they are not brown lentils. Next, let's weigh the 2 pounds of brown lentils. Notice some light flecking on the lentils. They are definitely not a solid or even brown color. And they also take longer to cook compared to a green lentil. The great value lentils cook very quickly at 15 minutes or less. And here we have the cooked brown lentils. Next, let's check out the nutrition info. The brown lentils come in at 10% potassium, 15% iron, 32% fiber, and 11 grams of protein. Next, we have the Spanish brown lentil. I'll admit this is a bit difficult to distinguish between the regular brown lentil. They both look pretty similar to me. The Spanish brown is said to have a more firm texture, which makes sense as it does have a rather high fiber content. Likewise, it takes longer to cook. And the cooked Spanish brown lentils, followed by the finished sloppy joe. Definitely a nice firm texture. For the nutrition, we have 8% potassium, 15% iron, 61% of fiber, which is quite high, and 12 grams of protein. The French green lentil. It certainly is the most attractive of all of the lentils. Just look at this nice speckling color. Speckled or mottled is how I would describe this. For as pretty as they are, I sure wish I enjoyed eating them more. It definitely wasn't one of my favorite varieties. And the French green lentil cooked. As for the nutrition, it has 10% potassium, 20% of the iron, 50% fiber, and 10 grams of protein. And our last lentil is the standard green lentil. Now let's compare this to the Great Value lentil. It's definitely the largest of all the lentils in size. And as you can see, it matches very well to the Great Value lentils. We have the winner. So far, we have disproven that the brown lentils are the grocery store lentils. We can see that the green lentils match the color of the Great Value lentils. Not only the color, but also the size of the lentil, as the green lentil is the largest of all the lentils. Holding them side by side, we definitely have a good visual match. Now let's put it to the test further and see how they cook. Green lentils cook the fastest and are also very easy to overcook, a definite match. Adding in the cooked fajitas straight from the garden. Here's a nice blend of red and orange bell peppers. And now the finished lentil sloppy joes with the standard green lentil. Cooks up quick and easy and tastes delicious. As for the nutrition, it came in at 11% potassium, 25% iron, 20% fiber, and 5 grams of protein. Surprisingly, the green lentil is the lowest in the protein and fiber. However, it is highest in the iron. In summary, my favorite lentil is in fact the green lentil, which is the same as the Walmart's Great Value lentil. Coming up at second place was the brown lentil, third place was the black lentil, fourth place was Spanish brown, and the dead last was French green. Here's my lentil sloppy joe recipe. On this channel, I really focus on whole food, plant-based, and no processed foods. I especially focus on foods that I can grow here at home on my farm, so quantities of food that I can preserve them in. As you know, I'm a tomato breeder and I love tomatoes, so I certainly have a lot of tomato sauce. So a lot of my recipes are focused on quart-sized jars of tomato sauce, such as I have here. Also, I freeze my peppers in pint freezer bags. So my recipes are based on these portion sizes of preserved food. For the lentil sloppy joes, I got my lentils from Azure Standard. Of course, you can buy them from the Walmart as well. Unfortunately, I'm not able to grow lentils here in Minnesota, so I do have to purchase them. My favorite is the green, and that's what we're going to focus this recipe on. So you will need 2 pounds of green lentils dry, 1 quart jar of homemade tomato sauce, a pint bag of frozen chopped peppers. This is off season, it's February in Minnesota right now. Of course, if it was September, I go to the garden and grab fresh peppers. Maybe 2 to 3, about equivalent of a pint bag of chopped bell peppers. And of course, you can do whatever peppers you like to grow in your garden. I prefer sweet peppers over hot peppers. This one happens to be blot. It's a pepper I got from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, and this is an orange bell pepper that I grew in 2022. Last year I grew a wide variety of peppers. This year I think I'll be focusing on one particular pepper. And for the seasonings, we will need some smoked paprika, some celery seed, and some ground mustard. Now, I do really recommend Azure Standard's herbs and spices, but I still have some older organic Great Value ones to use up, so I'll be using these up. But Azure Standard sells bulk spices in 1 pound or higher, and I just think that the quality of their spices is phenomenal, better than anything I've gotten from the grocery store. So highly recommend. And then also you will need some cornstarch. This is GMO-free cornstarch. Again, I purchased this from Azure Standard. So to get started with the lentils, we're going to need to weigh out 2 pounds. Of course, if you buy it from Walmart, they come in 1 pound bags. Two bags you buy. So come on over here to my scale, and we're going to see that I have this digital scale. I'm going to be using a colander to sort the beans. So place the colander on the scale. And we need to make sure to zero that out, so that now this is at 0. And I really like these handy dandy containers. I just purchased these at Walmart. You can grip onto them here, and this is a great way to store your bulk beans. I'm going to simply pour that in. Of course, until I get to the 2 pound. Okay, I'm just slightly over. I'm going to take some out until I get exactly to 2 pounds. And here we're at exactly 2 pounds. So it isn't that much extra time. That took me, what, maybe 60 seconds or less to weigh out the beans. No big deal. Now that I have the beans weighed, I will take this to my sink and I'm going to sort the beans. As with any dry bean, you want to sort them. You will occasionally find some rocks in there, or just any kind of chaff or weed seeds or debris. Of course, this is a natural agricultural product from the field, so it's totally normal to find dirt and whatnot in the beans. So just make sure to sort through them. So these look really clean. I've sorted through here. I'm not seeing anything that needs to be picked out. So then what I like to do with the lentils is rinse them under cold water to just kind of rinse off. They're pretty dusty, of course. So give that a quick rinse. Next, I'll be getting a Cuisinart stainless steel stock pot, and I'll be placing my rinsed lentils into the stock pot. Again, the green lentils are just my favorite, not only for flavor, but they're just so quick. They really do cook up rather quickly. And with lentils, there's no soaking involved. Unlike other beans that would usually require a pre-soaking prior to cooking them, lentils do not require soaking. I do think it's important to rinse the lentils both before and after cooking them. And now I'm going to add cold water into my stock pot. And we'll be simmering this on the stovetop. I recommend using a bigger stock pot than what you think you need. As all beans and legumes, they will swell and can almost double in size when they're cooked. So you need a bigger pot than what you may anticipate. So maybe a couple inches over the height of the lentils here. If you see any chaff that's floating to the top, go ahead and pick that out. And go ahead and take that over to your stove. We're going to turn on the heat and we are going to get this to a simmer. I'm going to start it on medium-high. And once it gets simmering, it's only about 15 minutes and those lentils will be done. While we're waiting for that to simmer, I'm going to go ahead and chop up the onion. And also the pepper. So the pepper, of course, is from my garden. I took this right out of the freezer. And I like to dice my peppers prior to freezing them. So they're already diced. Really all I'm going to do is give this a quick rinse. Just to get a little bit of that freezer burnt flavor off, some of that frost there. So I'll take some hot water and just give that a light rinse off with hot water. And you can see that busts up rather quickly. Okay, I'm going to drain that water out. I will be sauteing the veggies in a GreenLife ceramic pot. My favorite is stainless steel cookware. I will use some ceramic on occasion. So rather than sauteing this in oil, we will go ahead and just simmer this in some water. But right now I'm going to dice up an onion and add that to this. I've got my bamboo cutting board. I want to try to avoid microplastics around here, so the plastic cutting boards are less favorable. I will stick to the Farberware bamboo cutting board. Okay, and to chop up the onion, I'm using a ceramic knife. But you know, it's the same brand here. We've got a Farberware knife. So go ahead and dice up 1 full onion. If it's an onion from your garden, that would be great. Unfortunately, it's February in Minnesota, so I do not have an onion from the garden at this time, so I did go ahead and purchase this. I'm using a yellow onion right now, but you can use whatever onion you like. I also like the white onions, the red onions, whatever you want to use is fine. You will definitely change the flavor profile based on the type of peppers that you're using. You can make your pepper chunks as big or as little as you want, whatever you prefer. I actually kind of like them left a little bit larger for the lentil sloppy joes. So I'm going to chop them up into bigger pieces there, and I'm not going to dice them super intricate. And it's optional if you'd like to add garlic or not. I think I will go ahead and add a clove or two just for the health benefits of the garlic. Again, even better if you grow your own, if you can grow your own garlic, that's fantastic. We'll do a couple cloves today, whatever you're in the mood for. So unfortunately, this garlic here I did purchase. I did not grow this. Although I do think growing garlic is fun. It's pretty easy to grow. You should give it a try. So I've got a garlic press that I'll use to press the garlic in. It's not required to peel the garlic, but I do think that it works a little bit better when it is peeled. All right, now that the garlic is lightly peeled, I'm going to head and press that with the garlic press. This is just an inexpensive garlic press that I got on Amazon. Again, the garlic is optional. We all know that there are many health benefits to garlic and onions, so I will go ahead and add a couple cloves into it. All right, so now we have our garlic, onions, and pepper. I'm going to add some water to this, and we're just going to simmer this in some water. If you want, you're certainly welcome to use oil in a stainless steel pan, if that's your preference. I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. I'm going to start with a medium flame. All right, so I think I have that stirred up good enough now, so we'll go ahead and wait for that to come to heat. Checking on the lentils here, we can see that they are not yet to a simmer. We just want to keep an eye on that, and we don't want to have the flame too high. It's really easy to overcook lentils, especially green lentils. They're very easy to overcook. They can go from raw to mushy like that. So we definitely need to keep an eye on them. What I've learned is to keep the heat on low. Once it's getting to start to simmer, switch that heat to low and slowly cook them. Next, we're going to go ahead and mix up the sauce while we're waiting for these things to cook. So I will grab a stainless steel mixing bowl. I really recommend these Food Network stainless steel mixing bowls. They're fantastic for bread making, as well as everything in the kitchen. So again, you know I love my tomatoes. I love growing hundreds of tomatoes, and I'm definitely a tomato breeder. So if you want to learn how to make your own tomato sauce, check out my video. I'll put it in the video description about how I use the Reber tomato press to make homemade tomato sauce and can it. You just can't beat homemade canned tomato sauce. It's fantastic. And I have so much of it because, of course, I grow so many tomatoes. So what a great way to use up tomato sauce. And honestly, my favorite way to eat lentils is in a tomato-based sauce. You just can't beat it. So go ahead and pop open your home canned tomato sauce. I'm going to pour that into the bowl. The smell of summer. It's very inviting and very welcome in February in Minnesota. In fact, our high this Monday is going to be -5 degrees Fahrenheit, and the nighttime low will be -21. So some nice warm lentil sloppy joes sounds very good. And all we need to do with the sauce here is mix in the spices and the cornstarch. I'm going to grab a metal whisk. So to the 1 quart of tomato sauce, I recommend 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, so 1 and 2. I'm a big fan of smoked paprika. I use it in my chili, which we do a lot of chili in this house because we do a lot of tomatoes. The celery seed, I would say the celery seed is optional. Sometimes I make it with, and sometimes I make it without the celery seed. And it also depends to me on the actual celery seed. This is Great Value Organic, and I would say this one is very pungent. So you can overdo it. It's very strong celery seed, so if you don't care for that, just omit it altogether or try a different brand. I think the brand makes a difference too. So what I'm trying to say is it's optional for you. It has a very pungent flavor to it, so you can use it or not use it. You could also do 1 teaspoon instead of 2 teaspoons if you'd prefer. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use it today. And I'm going to go with the full 2 teaspoons. So just experiment a little bit with what you do and don't like. And then we're going to do the ground mustard. Personally, I feel like this ground mustard is very mild. I could almost do more than 2 teaspoons. But oftentimes what I'll do when I eat the finished cooked lentils is I'll drizzle on a little bit of ketchup and mustard at the end if you want a little more mustard flavor. And now for the cornstarch, we're going to do 8 teaspoons of cornstarch. Again, make sure that you get the non-GMO cornstarch. I believe Rumford has the non-GMO cornstarch, and then as well as Azure Standard. So 1, 2, and 8. Again, you can see that I buy my things in bulk, which is why I have a big bulk tub of the cornstarch. Next, we're going to take a wire whisk and we're going to whisk the sauce together here. Just kind of like making gravy. I do make a vegan cashew gravy that is phenomenal. Even with a non-traditional or non-vegan gravy, you just want to get that cornstarch to not be lumpy. So the wire whisk kind of helps get those lumps out so we can get a little bit of a smoother sauce. Of course, adding that cornstarch, it does make the tomato sauce look a little bit lighter. Of course, it was originally a nice deep red color. Once we've added all the spices and cornstarch, now it does look more like a light pink after we've added that. So I do prefer to whisk this together in a bowl separately and ahead of time, and at the end we will be adding this to the cooked lentils. That's looking good. At this time I come back and I check on my lentils. They're getting close, but they're not quite there. As soon as we get that water to start simmering, we'll turn the heat down and we'll simmer it until they're cooked, typically 15 minutes or less. And we're starting to get some heat now on the peppers and onions. And in fact, I'm actually going to turn the heat up on that now. So I'll meet you back here when this is cooked down more and the lentils are starting to simmer. You can see that the lentils are starting to foam up and simmer. So it's very important at this point that we turn the heat way down to low. And we just want to make sure that we're going to lightly simmer this. We don't want to keep the heat on high and have it foaming up much like that, or you'll overcook the lentils in a jiffy. So you can see here that I've turned my heat down to the lowest setting. We just want them to continue to lightly simmer. So keep an eye on that. Let's give this a stir so we can take a closer look. You'll know if you have the water too low because it won't be simmering at all. So we just want that to lightly be bubbling here. So even though this is just starting to simmer right now, they're already pretty cooked through. So it's likely going to be less than 15 minutes here of simmering. So keep a close eye on this, and we'll let that go a little bit longer. Checking on my peppers, onion, and garlic saute. This is starting to cook down really well now. The peppers are cooked and the lentils are finished, so it's time to strain the lentils. Go ahead and turn the heat off. Grab your hot pads and take it over to your colander. I've been really wanting to sew my own hot pads. I wanted to make some tomato themed or garden themed hot pads. I thought that would be fun for my kitchen. So I do like to rinse off my lentils with hot water. Lentils kind of have that muddy water texture to it after cooking them, so I don't really like to eat the cooked water. I like to rinse them off well. So it just takes a few seconds to do that. All right. These are pretty cute apple hot pads from our apple orchard here. Here at Sherry Goodness, we have an apple orchard, which our sheep help us graze under and maintain our orchard. Okay, I'm going to be putting the cooked lentils back into the pot now that they have been strained. And let's take this back to the stove now. So here are the cooked green lentils. Another reason I like to choose the green lentils is that of course they cook fast, but they also are large and they tend to hold their shape. They don't completely turn to mush. And that's why I did not do red or golden lentils, as those will turn more into a puree when you cook them, and these other lentils I did will hold their shape better. So much more suitable for lentil sloppy joes. Now I'm going to grab my sauce mixture and take this over here. Since it's been sitting for a few minutes, I'm going to give it one more whisk just to make sure that it's not lumpy and well mixed. That's good. Now we're going to pour that into the cooked pot of lentils. And we're going to add the cooked vegetables here. And we're going to dump that in. And just simply give everything a good stir. All right, now that that's mixed, I recommend putting your heat on medium. And we just need to simply cook this for a few minutes to thicken up the sauce. Remember, we had 8 teaspoons of cornstarch in that sauce, so we want to cook this to get that to thicken up. I've tried doing this with low heat in the past, and I find that it does work better having it on a medium heat. But you need to stand here and constantly stir so that it does not burn or scald in the pot. So this only takes a few minutes. Go ahead and stir this while cooking it on medium heat. And after that, you're done. One note I want to add with the lentil sloppy joes is it does thicken up more afterwards. So once this is finished cooking, I'm going to let it cool down and I'll put it in my refrigerator. After it's had time to cool down in the fridge, it thickens a lot more. So I actually think it's better the next day after it's had time to cool in the fridge. You can eat your lentil sloppy joes in a bowl, and sometimes I'll just eat them in a bowl. I might drizzle on a little bit of ketchup and mustard on them if I'm in the mood for that. You could also try putting them on top of a baked potato, or I recommend making homemade bread. A lot of times what I'll do is take a slice of homemade bread here. I have a video on YouTube on using 11 different whole grains for bread making. Really cool, and I'm all about whole grains here. I've got a grain mill, and you can see my homemade bread here, so I recommend putting the lentil sloppy joes right on top of a piece of bread and enjoying them that way as well. So one thing about the lentil sloppy joe that I really like is it's not processed, it's healthy, whole grain food, it's not expensive to make, and it also utilizes things from the garden that you can grow yourself. You could grow your own onions, your own peppers, your own tomato sauce, your own garlic. If you live somewhere with a longer season, you could even grow your own lentils. I just don't have that. I'm in zone 4 here, so it's very cold here. I would almost say I'm a little bit of the zone 3 even, so I can't grow the lentils, but lentils are also very affordable, whether you're getting them from Azure or even Walmart. They're roughly $1.90 a bag, so it's a very inexpensive way to eat healthy. So I highly recommend trying this recipe. And it's something that you can easily make at night after work. It only takes, maybe 20 or 30 minutes tops, so it's easy to do on a work night as well. For the written recipe, as well as resources, be sure to click on the video description.